Delivery, which is really what resonates well with CC Watu. And then there is politics. Politics is all over. It's hata ukienda Western, even in the most developed countries, kuna politics. And sometimes politics can be dirty. So on that same note, with that point factored in, Wakili would answer so that you get to know that even if kuna Western influence on our democracies, you know, they invest, you know, we also benefit from them, they benefit from us. It's obvious that they would have interests, and some of those interests can be selfish sometimes. Point number 2 nilikuwa nataka kumention is those who have been here know what I started with. Let's change the system. Someone has mentioned that the lecturers are on strike. That's very bad. Watu wanafaa kuwa shule kusoma. And as we pressure the government to make sure that they deliver watu wasome shule, speaking of system change, there are lecturers that do not attend classes. Some of them are corrupt. You have a missing mark, anataka umlipe pesa kuwekea missing marks. So those are some of the things that they are a scale factor. Ni ndogo, but they are part of the rotten system. So to finish up, Wakili would answer this na swali ya Wambua yenye ameuliza. Something about what Kindiki said. That's what I was on before I disconnected. And nilikuwa nimepeana example, you are a man in your household, you have to make decisions. Some of those decisions might not sit well with your children or with your wife, or sometimes there are interests of the people, the public interest. You want some things. You know, there are things you want. For instance, maybe you want lecturers to be paid. You want the government to employ JSS teachers. But there are also matters of, let's say, national security. President has intel that kuna wezi somewhere. Let's say, just an example. I don't know. It's an answer I would want to have from you people. How do you differentiate between public interest and the national interest? Because there are some of the things that, regardless of who becomes president, let's say we have someone we like, and then we've voted in someone that we truly like, and then you have interference from the international community, you have interference from neighbors. There are people within who just want to oppose the things that you do. What mechanisms and how do we distinguish between, we do not like this thing, but because the buck stops with someone, there has to be a leader. There has to be someone who makes decisions. Those decisions must not sit well with us. So even as we strive to cut the head of the current president, mwenye anatusumbua, how do we differentiate between things that we are talking about because we are emotional and the things that must actually be done even if we do not like them? Things of national security. Let's say kuna mwizi mahali mwenye ni expert, very smart at stealing. He is very smart, ni mtu mnapenda. You know, how do you deal with that person? I would give an example of someone who was ahead of a very bad group called Mungiki. He used to do lots of bad things. We all know. We are not new in this country. But he is very popular. And people like him. Even with the vices and the things that he has done. He has lots of money. He can influence lots of people. But he is not a good person. So as a president, how do you deal with that person in a way that you'll deal with him because you are the head of state, you are the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, in a way that will not compromise the security of the country, but still you do not offend people? So how do we differentiate those things? Because those are some of the challenges that we will face in our strive for democracy, in our strive for progress going forward. Sijui kama mmeelewa swali yangu. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna react to that. Thanks a lot, Jackson, for that, and also Amboy. I'm also going to react on to that. So the first thing is, two wrongs can never make a right. Let's first of all understand that, because okay, I first of all started by saying that I was part of the Gen Z revolution since day one. And yeah, I can really depict a lot of things that have happened. And you know, even if when you look at, okay, let me first of all get to what Lone Wolf said. I totally understand your question. There is what is there's, you know, the government, and if I was elected to be the president of this country, I think the first thing that the first angle that I will actually take is to make sure that we reduce the powers of executive a bit, because I mentioned sometimes back in this space, in this live, that the problem we have is that among the three arms of the government that we have, executive has got what we call the overriding powers. And if you look at the president has what is called the security of tenure. For example, this is something that nobody else has it, and the constitution has given executive a lot of powers that basically supersede all the other agencies of the government and the arms of the government. That is the first thing that everybody here should know, that even if we would wish to really do much, there are things that executive will always do what is called the overriding powers than any other arm of the government. And that is why you see it is somehow cut across the judiciary in some sense of powers. That is why you see the president can fire anyone, regardless of whether either it's someone serving at the state organ, either you're serving at maybe whatever that touches the government. The president has the powers to do that. And it is something that really has messed us this country as far as the constitution is concerned. The other thing that executive carries, and this is, I'm trying to really exhaust points on what Lon have asked. The other thing that really is a bother to this country is that, unlike the US, where we have the federal, for example, in Kenya, we have one party, which is the winning party, which brings the president in power. What does that mean? The winning party contributes the majority, either in Senate or in National Assembly, or even in whatever other docket that Senate or women rep, or whatever it is. Look at how many members of National Assembly are in UDA. This means people were asking me last time in the breakfast show in Citizen that how do we impeach the president? And we told you the process is the same. Just do what Kashagwa was done into. But now the difference a bit with the president is that the attorney general had to be factored in this, unlike the deputy president. But now I'm trying to imagine a scenario whereby who is that bold MP, member of parliament, who is going to bring a motion before the House and say that we want to impeach the president? Probably it's going to be someone from Wiper. It's going to be someone from ODM. It's going to be someone from nothing to do with UDA, because nobody from UDA party can bring a motion on a party leader who is the president and on a party that voted for him. Chief Whip has the punishment for that person. And if you look at what when the deputy president was being impeached, there is some sort of punishment that the speaker can also give to someone who misbehave or rather go against the party that voted for him. It's also in the constitution. So the first thing to do is such changes to happen, which might take a while. And that is now where what we call moral degradations comes in the government, whereby if the president is in good terms with Sudi, and Sudi is an illiterate person, he's a class 4 dropout, he's going to be given some sort of, he's going to be speaking or rather sidelining some things in the government, and no punishment is going to happen to him. Why? If you take him to court, somehow the executive has powers to speak to court in a way, not really publicly, but somehow it's going to influence. And if it's not acted upon, then at the end of the day, someone is going to suffer. So whether you're an employee, you have been employed, you have something to protect. So you will rather choose to, obey your lords rather than going the contrary manner. So that is how we've been surviving in Kenya. It is the same way we've been surviving in Kenya. If you look at Catholic, when the bishop stood to give a comment on what has been happening in the government, look at the reaction. How many people reacted? So many people. And the same faces you see in judiciary, attacking judiciary, the same faces you see attacking legislature are the same faces you see. So this is the biggest challenge that we have in Kenya. And this is why we are saying, even Matiang'I in this case will not be an option for this country. Honestly, if I was asked a very honest point of view, I will not go for Matiang'I. This thing for us to approach issues in this country that are affecting us, everything, including whatever that you see that is happening, we must get a fresh bid mind that has never been there. Look at someone like Okiya Omtata, a very sober-minded human being, who has been, and for you, I don't know whether you guys knows that Okiya Omtata is not a lawyer. I don't know whether you guys know that. He's someone who did arbitration, he did mediation, and he also did ADR and that is how he arrives. But the manner at which he challenges his arguments in parliament will really make you wonder whether he's a legislator, whether he's a lawyer, or is whatever in those corridors of power, the law and stuff. If you bring someone like that, who's been fighting even when he's working on crutches, you guys saw this guy during the housing finance levy working on crutches to Supreme Court to challenge things that are happening. If Matiang'I comes tomorrow to be the president, remember that Matiang'I has a whole sarcasm of people that are behind him. Either they are members of parliament, either they are what. Okay, I know that Matiang'I can make a very reflexive kind of a choices, as what we saw him as a CS for education, and many things. But at the end of the day, the influential sideline is the problem that we have. We have been with the Okiya Omtata in campaigns, in streets, everywhere. I think even the rally that we had in Uhuru Park when we were mourning the fallen heroes with the Gen Z, Okiya Omtata came to give a speech, and many other people that we were in the street with. So learn to just say this, the kind of thing that we have asked about moral degradation, we cannot attack. In fact, if today something happens, let's say from Ruto's side, and this thing is going to it's going to be for the benefit of the citizens, we should not attack that thing because it is for the benefit of the people. Not everything that Ruto says is evil either way, but the thing that he says mostly are overriding. For example, when I mentioned about the finance bill, not everything was supposed to really flop per se. If you look at things like, eco-levy tax was to give more taxation to the foreign companies to discourage them from importing things and encouraging the domestic industrialization to happen, for example, here in Kenya. That is something that will really promote. I mean, it was in the finance bill, and we will really appreciate to do that so that we can also give our people an opportunity to trade and sell. But if you look at how that thing was brought, politics was right, left, center. The opposition also somehow getting into that. The finance bill, things that were there ought to have been amended. The 24 items that were there ought to have been removed. And then the rest of the things were supposed to be validated and become law. To me, that is to me. But unfortunately, it is our country, Kenya, and that is how things look like. Everything's going to be politicized. And then the last thing is, we can never have a country that runs without opposition. For now, we have Morara Kebaso as the opposition leader, by the way, for information. I don't think, and then Akina Kalonzo Musyoka and a few others, Martha Karua and other guys. But for now, I don't know opposition, and we don't have that strong person. We can say Morara is not in the government. I mean, he has not served in any position ever before, so he can say he can really challenge. So Ruto knew taking Raila away is gonna be a big defeat. He also added CS from different other parties in the ODM and others to give them. Look at what Buddy said. You guys, you need to go and watch those news for 9 p.m. It's amazing. The news that have just elapsed. Just go listen to that. What that guy says is saying about the financing and all that. So those are the problems that we are facing. But we hope sooner we are going to really bring the revolution. And how do we do this first? If we have the more young people in parliament, for example. This is where these motions are passed. This is where these bills are passed. This is where these bills are vetted. This is where laws are made. It is a law-making country. It's a legislative assembly that really passes this and that. So if you bring many young people who are not going to be really affiliated to a particular party, I'm pretty sure Kenya is going to change. Now, on to Wamboi's question about the Western. It is a very, very broad question because I probably could approach this in three main aspects. I can approach them in probably social-economic. Those are the major things. But with the Trump's administration, because, of course, the Western, being a superpower, has more input in terms of economy and also social, political, among other factors, even religion to some extent. But what I'll say is the influence of the U.S., for now, when Trump has come in, is unlike when we had Biden, who are also puppet to this country, because when I think Meg Whitman, this is why actually Meg also been resigns, because even though they are trying to hide about why she resigns, but
kidogo wakili nikukatisha ndo usipate maybe just a straight answer. Maybe what is your view on colonialism in Africa, specifically Kenya? What is your view? You wewe unaonaje tuendelee na ukoloni ama the fact that kwanza umesema about them, the socio-economic aspect, regardless of everything they're doing, quote unquote positive here, the negative aspects have really overlined and we cannot overlook that. So what is your view, Wewe? For example, Washington fella comes to you, or the administration of Washington, the program that you're in, they come to you, they have a proposal that is set to maybe build an industry or something to, they approach you. What would you weigh? How would you weigh that?
Yeah, so I think neocolonialism, first of all, is the colonialism that exists within us. That is actually how we define that. Neocolonialism could mean being colonized by Ruto, who is our own. And now the colonialism is basically what the Western has been doing to this country. So in terms of economy, I can say we are still so much dependent to the West in so many aspects. For example, a good example is when we had COVID-19, when we were here, we are so much dependent to the West in terms of those drugs. Even HIV, for example, now PEPFAR Foundation, for example, still gives Kenya a lot of drugs, and it is from the US. So somehow we couldn't really, the kind of the operation that Western has been doing for Kenya specifically is something that is absurd, and it's something that we really need to do away with it. If you look at these policies, for example, frameworks in climate change, some of the programs that you mentioned, for example, the fellowship in Nelson Mandela, and the way they do all things, it is something that I will say it is somehow with favorism of how they think, how the decision think they should be made from their side, not really what you're not fully dependent. You're somehow obligated and mandated for them to think for you, and that is the biggest challenge that we have, of which I think we can also probably do with that, away with that. We are really developing, but in terms of some programs, and especially in the economy sector part of it, this is where we really find a challenge, because if you look at IMF, for example, where we have, I think, a good number of debts in Kenya, we also have World Bank, and this question I can approach in a very sober-minded manner, Wamboi. If you look at financing of climate change, most of the African countries denied to let World Bank receive funds through the loss and damage finance. For example, there is this office that was supposed to be put in UNEP in Kenya, there Gigiri, where the headquarters for UNEP is. The delegations, civil societies, CSOs, NGOs, and many other movements decided that they're going to allow that office to be in Kenya for the sake of helping the developing African countries. And since Paris Agreement, all the way in 1978, this was supposed to be a caution to. It was supposed to caution the African social economic development to help them overcome challenges that are facing climate change. So if you look at the politics that happens, he officially ruled Geneva all the way in Kurudi to the west, and it was a very big beat to the Kenyan and also to Africa as well. So those are the challenges that you are facing because I think in multilateral relations that we have, if you look at Ruto, for example, that is basically the biggest aspect that we are approaching the West, either through loans or through multilateral relationship between countries. So we are not dependent in terms of making our own decision, which is a challenge to us. Also, I think also in terms of even religion, I know we have religious people here. Kuna wengi sana. I know you guys, you all belong to a race, either you are an associate of Catholic or wherever. Where do you get your funds? Hizo vitu mnafanyanga nazo ministry and stuff, you get a lot of donation from outside. Even the Catholic Church, you get a lot of money from outside the country. So the lack of free will mind to really think as an African that we can basically thrive to build our own economy without really depending on the West. The hard thing. That is a big thing that we've been facing. But we hope so that one day we will be there.
I want to counteract one or two things what Kili just said there. He's said about climate change. I think climate change is actually a very bogus phenomenon. It's a bogus phenomenon. It's a hoax, and it's actually an anti-development, right, agenda that's been perpetrated against China, the likes of China, Brazil, India, South Africa, Nigeria, and other developing nations, right? Because we know, as everybody does, that any country that has a huge population, that population is not just a population by itself, but it's actually human capital. On top of that, if you have a country with immense natural resources like Russia, China, who have vast amounts of coal, yeah? Coal is used to generate power. Let me just continue for a minute or so. So a country like China has a vast coal reserves, humongous. Not only do they have coal, they also have steel, or the components of steel, which is iron ore. They have huge reserves of iron ore. Anybody who has iron ore and is able to generate electricity through the burning of coal will industrialize the economy. Will easily industrialize the economy. And on top of that, you have this huge market, internal market, like in China, India, and Brazil. So there's a shift of capital from the Western Hemisphere to the Eastern Hemisphere, specifically these BRICS countries, who have A, the natural resources, 2, they have the population, to be able to put all this into an industrialized process, to process and develop industries, and therefore become the manufacturers of the world, as China is today, as Brazil is today, as Mexico is today, the manufacturing world. So the Western Hemisphere then automatically becomes, because they cannot compete in terms of pricing of their products, what they do is now they will be consumers, because you cannot produce your own. So look at all these factories in Germany, in Britain, in the United States. Especially if you look at United States, it's Pennsylvania, places like that. They used to have huge. Michigan, I'm talking about this, so they used to produce a lot of cars. So basically, if you're not producing economy, I'm coming to why climate change is purported to be what it is. It's urgency. Yeah. So I've just lost my train of thought. Somebody interject.
Allow me to pick it up from there, because I believe climate change, of course, is a very big hoax. Look at what we have. Look at what we have around us. It's the same as what we are copying the West, literally, in the sense that we have been tumesongamanwa kwa city. Look at Nairobi. What is Nairobi? There's the outskirts of Nairobi, quote unquote. Let's go down the drain. Huruma. What is there in Huruma? What is there in Githurai? What is there in Jericho? What is there in Kawa West? What is there in these sides of Rongai? What are there? Slums in the form of buildings. People are so much congested in the cities. What will that happen or make it to be? Motion atoka too. Whatever, there's so much pollution in the air. So naambiwa hapo ni climate change, but no, people are congested. We have left our rural areas. We have left my God, why can't we just go somewhere in our own city? Me, I always refer to Kitengela. I saw Kitengela 7 years ago, and Kitengela now it's very different. Whenever kama kuna tu moto mahali, everyone will run there instead of going away from there. If we just depopularize the cities, if we just go back to the natural form of life, climate change itakuwa wapi? I know, Wakili, I know where you are coming from. Nelson Mandela was in the program.
Okay. I think I've gathered my thoughts.
Kidogo Ivan Malaysia. I think I understand why climate change is an issue for you, because that's what's so much propagated in these fellowship programs. But I would urge you to look again Hata history ya carbon credits, it's a hoax. It's a hoax. It's a system.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me just pick up some of my thoughts. Which I was coming back to the. I was actually talking about this phenomenon of rural urban migration, which has resulted in these slums who have left their farms because they're being unproductive and they've settled to the cities, and they find themselves in very major circumstances in and around the slum area where they're able to afford a major living. I'm actually talking about industrialization. No country can ever industrialize without having cheap electricity for the industry, right? I come to our country, Kenya. In Kenya, if you go to places like Voi, Kwale, we have the sources of electricity, which is coal. We have huge coal reserves in Kitui, in areas like that. You know, I think Garissa, Tana River, this place is just full of coal. If really well exploited, we'll be paying very, very little for electricity. You know, for anybody who has been into manufacturing, electricity cost is one of the major costs of production. You know, the amount of money, even you just running a small household, you see the amount of bills you pay through the Kenya Power, right? Imagine running huge industry that is needing a lot of electricity. It's costing a lot of money. So you cannot industrialize a country without having coal and steel. We have steel in places like Kerio Valley and places like that, Kerio Valley up all the way to Pokot. Your places just laden with iron ore. This is the kind of policy the government need to put in place, not focusing on just the geothermal projects in Naivasha, where they build the SGR and whatever. Try to industrialize that and tap into that energy. You know, that is not enough. The real drivers of Kenyan economy in the 21st century will be exploiting the coal in Kambani, in Kwale, in Taita Taveta, places like that, and bringing the steel from there, from places I mentioned, all the way to Pokot, right? And this is the only way we can manufacture. And we have the human capital, we have the education system, we have the young people who are ready to work in the industry and produce for the world, produce goods for the world at a very cheap price, create jobs for our people, and so forth and so on. I think I'll stop for now. Thank you. But you have people like Wakili who are into these NGOs, let money come from the UN and then they share among themselves. It's a small clique of corrupt crooks around this NGO system who are perpetrating this nonsense and misguiding Kenyans who have no interest in the national agenda, right? Who don't care about patriotism in the country. Thank you.
Yeah, so Mr. Iban, I think before you go, I just want to clarify a few things, and also I want to mention that I am in this spaces of climate change policy and framework. The document that was signed for the African Climate Summit, if you can just have a look at the document, you will see my consignment. I've really contributed a lot to that particular document before it went to the heads of state in the African Union. So just check on through that. So I've been ideally, I've been through, actually, if you look at Kyoto Protocol, I have contextualized the ideas that came with these frameworks. I have also checked the Paris Agreement and many of these things. And there's also a reason why US was trying to disintegrate from this engagement. And I don't know where Iban has left. I really wanted him to hear this. Because I'm naive, but I was really wondering how naive am I? Okay, naive is it seems to lack information, and yet I'm a professor of environmental law. So, guys, I don't know that I should continue, but I think Wamboi, I have tried to answer you. I've tried to answer your questions, but let me say that. This loss and damage fund, the loss and damage fund that was to come to, that is supposed, I'm not sure actually the outcome of this COP29 that is in Baku. We are looking forward to see we have news that even some of the climate activists are sleeping hungry. They don't have a place to sleep. It is a hoax. I can totally agree that it is really, but just I think what has erupted this conversation is the fact that what Iban has raised is really it is true what you have said, that we may not be able to pull industrialization without power and self-reliance of electricity. Iban, I hope you are listening. Just follow. we may not totally do, for sure it is not possible, but just to ask a quick one, what was the problem for us? We have got young men and young women in Kenya, for example, in Kenyatta referral hospitals as we speak. They are doing a mass production of biodegradable sanitary pads. For example, we have Ikobana, and I whatever I speak here is something that has been validated and is something that is already working. And if anybody wants to confirm that, I don't share a hearsay. Hearsay is untrue information. So I have to make sure that whatever I say here is credible and it is of it is as it is. So I don't see the reason why we should pull on doing a lot of just request. I think the host is gonna give you a chance. I don't see the reason why we should not give a priority to those young, innovative people who are doing sanitary pads for the girls. I don't see the reason why we should not probably put an inch to China or to other countries that are doing mass importation of such things, which are actually also somehow hazardous to the environment. I don't see, unless someone challenge me on that. And this is the aspect of the finance bill that I'm saying it ought to have discouraged the outside companies. What Wamboi mentioned about colonialism, how do we end that? That is the first thing on how we can end this. We may not fully wake up tomorrow and say all the industries, especially metal, which is very expensive, we are fully self-reliant in terms of importation of things that products and do manufacture everything. But again, there are things that we can basically do away with them because we are somehow dependent with what we are producing. Ideally, even if you look at the medical in a practitioner, thanks heavens for AI that has contributed a lot to that particular area. Look at food insecurity, for example. When you see people like Bill Gates, Bill and Belinda Foundation here in Kenya, introducing the concept of last week I spoke about the cassava technology that is being pushed by one of the African leaders. These are the things that Kenya can do without really introducing the GMO things into these seeds that we have. But unfortunately, if we continue being puppet to the West, these are the results of us always thinking that we cannot survive on our own self. And the good thing is the idea of climate change has been brought in place. We have got top organization that has been benefiting, for example, and the impact probably has not been, and I can give an example of Pakja, for example. It's been there for now quite a good time, and it's been funded. There are some programs that they are pushing on, but saying that I really wanted Ibane to challenge me how naive this information is, because
anyway, Wakili, lest we digress. I understand you, and I understand that I'm ningetaka kuambiwa how naive I am. I've sent you a request. I've shared the link to your inbox. You kama utaiona. This is it. We might have different views. Me, I'm of the opinion climate change is a hoax, and that was his opinion. I think that's where his comment came from. Climate change is a hoax. All these organizations that are here are meant to, maybe not all, let me just cover that up. Majority of the international organizations are here for their own benefit, and they'll push the agenda that is there in their West. They want to implement everything that works for them to work for us, and they forget that, for example, the climate there and the climate here are different. So whatever works for them will never work for us entirely. The crops that we are growing here, we are growing crops for them. So that's, hey, why would climate change, quote unquote, not come here? Ambapo tunapanda makahawa, tunapanda tea, but all of them we are exporting. Why would we be the planters and then they are the gatherers? Until when? And your point is, this is very colonial. It will take time, but until we uproot every single bit of it, every single bit, maybe it's our children who will benefit from it. But we are here to discuss matters good governance. Let's focus sana hapo kwa hapo, na tuko na watu wengine hapa. Jackson, Miano, karibu.
Wamboi, before you give someone... before you give to someone, if you, okay, adoption of Kakamega Forest, for example, by the First Lady, I think you know how much the carbon credits department funded the Mama Doing Good thing, that whatever she adopted. You have the information, right?
So for you, it's a good thing that she adopted the forest.
No, I'm not. I'm saying it could be a bad ideology for us to think on that. this is a bad mechanism. For example, I know, okay, and I know the politics from the West, especially when it comes to climate change and the like. I'm not really saying that they are okay, but I'm saying Kenya also, in terms of climate change, have at least benefited a bit. It could have gone to individuals, but introduction of remember that there was a conflict also for the idea of carbon credits, because there is no act of parliament under our laws that can delegate on how carbon credits can be shared between. The computation, how does it look like? Who should take 70% and who should take 30%? Is it the community or the company giving the offsets and all kind of things? So because we don't have that, there is that one that does not exist in our laws.
No. Wakili, sorry, let me eliminate people maybe about the carbon credits. Not what, actually highlight about carbon credits, because we take it as a jargon here. Tunaiongelanga kama jargon. This is carbon. It's emission from the gases in the industries. And it's just a way of them coming and dumping all the wastes on our land. So uende pale, uchukue a piece of your land, plant some trees. After some years, utakuwa kilipwa, ama whatever time you'll be planting them. Ama if you have already existing, no, they insist actually you have to plant new trees in an area. Then it will become a government property at the end, because unawachungia, ni kama unachunga, we by the end of mchungaji wa hiyo area ambao umechukua upande miti. After some time, after the trees have, and it's a specific type of tree, let's bank on that. How can you go somewhere? That tree is not even malignant for that. Haifai hata to grow in that area, then you plant it. Okay, that's one point. Then they'll bring these emissions and they'll drop them on the trees. In the context ya kwamba, the trees will give us this oxygen that will generate, ama ita convert these emissions that have been poured literally. Didn't you hear the story of Jirongo akisema people in the northeastern Kenya, how they suffered from the waste that Moi brought upon us? Moi ameingia an agreement to the West. Anasema, leteni chemicals out, leteni all your waste, bring them over to our country. We have somewhere we can dump them. What is the impact of that? The moment that plastic goes to the soil, the moment that plastic bag, how long does it take to decompose? It will be cancer to you. That's why the rates of cancers are high over there. Point is, this carbon credits is a hoax.
It is not them bringing things to dump them. It is not about that. Ideally is those countries that are industrialized. This was actually a caution that came into this. And I hope that someone else can challenge this. This was something that the heads of state sat down and came with as a way of trying to punish the West. And this is why I'm talking about companies that are actually doing this carbon credits. A good example is Vera. I think it's the biggest in this country. But it's not saying that they are going. Okay, in terms of emissions, we have oil, gas, and coal, for example. Those are the main contributors to this. But it is not saying that they are going to dump plastic to us for us to benefit from carbon credits, for instance. The industrial manufacturing of plastic, for example, like a good example is Coca-Cola. Let's say they use those plastics things and they import to Kenya and all that. Ideally, these were one of the frameworks that these people think that it is going to help punish people who are heavily industrialized and are contributing to the effects of climate change. That is why the carbon credits came about. But we're not saying it's a good narrative. It's a false information to Africa. I'm not really acting onto that. But remember, COP28, Kenya got money. For example, you may not see where this money is going, but I say two wrongs can never make a right. And it does not really make me more outspoken if I speak of something that is right and bring in a wrong perspective. Kenya has been receiving money in different chunks and in different. If you look at UNICEF, and I've been working with the Rotary Club, for example, how much money they have been receiving. They have been receiving up to $400 million US. But the question is, how is this money utilized? Even if it is a false information or whatever it is, because we have a lot of countries, if AU was unable to be computed to make sure that this framework cannot go through, these are the things that you are saying. It is still trickled down to politics, which is what you mentioned about being colonialized by the West again.
Okay. I want to bring to you this idea that carbon credits as a concept is actually a way of whitewashing this agenda that they have. The agenda is to stop the BRICS countries industrializing, right? For them from producing goods that their own manufacturers cannot compete at the same prices, right? I'm talking about heavy industries, not simple company that does Coca-Cola. What does Coca-Cola do? Coca-Cola, when they're producing their bottles, they use something called blow molds. And even the temperatures there, maybe when ikienda sana, this is a plastic, very light plastic, I can't remember it's not HDU, it's not even HDU specification. It has a very light specification. They come as tiny balls, and then when they are put in the machine, they're blown, inafura inakuwa, produce chupa. It only needs about 70 degrees Celsius to be able to, to perforate that plastic for it to turn into a bottle. So Coca-Cola is not a big consumer of electricity, because that's not what we consider as heavy industry. When we're talking about heavy industry, we're talking about the steel production, the production of phosphorus metals, production of cement, production of steel, production of things like that. Something like, for you to produce cement for manufacturing or for developing the country, cement, so you have clinker, which is the basis of cement. You need to heat the clinker to up to 2,800 degrees Celsius, but really high temperatures. The use of coal, through the use of coal. Now, I think you circle around this Bill, Melinda, these NGOs who are given literally just tokens. These are just crumbs, in order to justify that, But in effect, when we're talking about, for example, this idea of smoke in India they had smoke, a problem of smoke, right? And they were being told to cut down on the amount of cars. It was not the cars that were producing the smoke. It was just the time that this smoke was engulfing cities like Delhi and other big cities like Mumbai, places like that. It is because there was just pre-monsoon season. There's a time pre-monsoon, the monsoon season. That's where they have a lot of wind, a lot of rains in India, the monsoon season. So just before the monsoon season in India, you have this phenomenon where there's no wind. It's really dry, and therefore, because there's no wind to blow these toxic fumes away from the city, you have this concentration of this pollution, right? But after then, for a little bit after 2 or 3 weeks after that, you have the monsoon season coming in with a lot of wind, a lot of so it clears everything from the city and blows it everywhere. This idea that Africans need carbon credit is actually a way of making us not put our land into production. They want us to have these forests and these trees and God knows what, and for us not to be able to put the land into production. If you're not producing food for yourself, look at, for example, they forced the government to produce, to enact the Seed Act. If you read the Seed Act, 1 or 2 companies are going to be the sole providers of seeds in Kenya. One being Monsanto. I think they're changing their name to a different name. Monsanto is one of the big GMO, genetic modified seeds. So what happens? If I, as farmer A, and my neighbor has a farm B, which is just across the road, what happens if I grow my own seedlings from Monsanto, which are GMO seeds? When my seeds germinate, these seeds are actually sterilized. They're sterilized seeds, okay? So what happens is the pollens within my shamba, when the wind blows to the next farm, that next farmer who did not have, who had these natural seeds, these organic seeds that are not sterile, the pollens from my farm will go to the next farm and sterilize that farm. And therefore, the danger here we have is we're going to have a concentration of 1 or 2 companies who are going to have food security. Our food security, the food that we eat, that me and you eat, is going to be held. If they don't want to sell it as the seeds, we will not have nothing to eat. Even the seeds themselves, they need a particular type of fertilizer You cannot just use any fertilizer, but you have to use Monsanto fertilizer produced by Monsanto. So they're going to undermine our food security by these things. And unfortunately, policymakers who came through corrupt elections, and when they go to these meetings, they have no interest of the country and the interest of the Mwananchi at heart. They go there just because they spend some money in elections, so they need to recover. They want this money to be given by Wazungus so that they eat the money. Look at all these projects being done by the European Union and whatnot, and all this World Bank. They're all corrupt. They're all white elephants. Nothing has ever been Bible that we can touch. We can say, okay, the World Bank gave us a loan, and that loan was given to a Chinese company, and now we have Thika Superhighway. We have this something that's tangible that we can touch. We don't have, and this is. I'm really flabbergasted. Wakili has gone, I think. Ametoroka ameenda wapi? This is the kind of corrupt people who go to these meetings na wazungu. I'll stop here now because he's gone. I wanted to educate him one or two things. He's come back. When he come back, let me know.
Thank you, Iban. Host, are you there? Karibu, Tony, and everyone else. And yeah, I wanted Wakili to not drop as well, but anyway, point is home. Si lazima, if you're here, get what resonates with you, drop what doesn't. But the point is, we are doing away with colonialism to the core. Na inaanza na sisi. So I would urge anyone who is also vying, please do your colonial research. Do the Black history. Do your own Black history research. Know what you stand for. Are you for the black man? Are you for the red man who is the Asian? Are you for the European? It's that simple. Hi, Tony.
Good.
Welcome.
Before Tony gets the mic,
can I greet? Sorry, nitakupatia chance.
Niko na the muted na nani hapa na mtu mwingine anajiita the muted, mtu mwingine anajiita Duma Mrs. K. Alafu sasa mpatapatia EFF. We still got more boxes. Na guys, wambo hebu niweke namba hapa uambie watu waniwekee bana za data. Hii kitu itaisha.
Bana. Manze, can I say something? Tukisupport hiyo mambo ya data. Can anyone hear me?
Na naongea?
Wamboi, just before your point, it okay.
Okay.
I think hata sisi upande wa inject, we need to be clear. Let us support someone who is supporting our policies. That's why we need these policies to be set. We need to raise our bar. We need to be clear. Where do we stand on this matter? Because there's no way that we are going to welcome ati zile system na unajua ile shida tuko nayo, it is because we have inherited systems zenye ziliwekwa from time wenye walisema ati wametupea independent, but the independence itself was not given to us. There's a lot of things that are not in our constitution, as you have heard Wakili saying. The issue of how much carbon or something is not in our constitution. So these things are not there. We need to set our principles, our policies very clear, so that when you wanasimama na upande wa inject, tunajua sisi tunapinga mambo ya kutuambia ati watu wakuja wa dump their waste here on that nonsense. Yenye President William anapush kila siku anasema ati mtu atakuwa analipwa kwa kupanda miti. So this is the nonsense. Anataka kuentice hii kitu kushuka court ikae kama it's something good, but in the real sense ni sisi tuchukue uchafu ya watu wengine tuletewe kwetu, and that's what he think. So we need to put our policies together so that we support people who are backing us on our own policies, because that is neo-colonialism. That is the next thing they will tell you is what to plant, what fertilizers to use. The next thing they will tell you is what seeds to use, what medicines to take, and they must come from a direct, factory that they recommend themselves. So this is neo-colonialism. You don't have any choice when you operating like that. So we need to stand. As far as we are standing against neo-colonialism, anything that is neo-colonialism, we call it the way it is. So thank you very much. I wanted to say that as I inject, we need to raise our bar and to set a policy. We will support someone who backs our policies. Hatutapeana our support to people who want to tomorrow to sell us to West, to people who will change to be puppets tomorrow. We as African, we can talk about our West. Kwani sisi hiyo kaboni yetu inatoshana aje? So that we go and start buying other people's waste in our country. That's not right. We need to talk about our climate. We can discuss about our environment, our climate. We can discuss about our issues here in Africa. Why must we depend on some white guy somewhere to tell us what we will do with our climate? Wrong. Why must we depend on someone white somewhere to bring some donations here? Kwani hata hizo masakramenti mnasema they must come from where? Why do you want to tell me that we cannot make sacramenti? It's nonsense. We need to cut those ties. Anything that is West, we must stop. As far as it is not on our benefit, as far as haitujengi. For instance, these people go to table. They always go to table with China. Na China, wacha nikwambia hata ukiona China wamejaa huku, they always sit for bargaining. Hakuna mchina amecolonize any place. They sit for bargaining. Our leaders are very cheap. When they go there, they just receive some petty cash and they give out everything. That's why this guy is ready to sign in a deal. No, that's wrong. So we need to set our priorities, our policies right, so that we know we support someone who is aligning on this one. Thank you.
Hello guys, am I audible? I want to say something.
Yes, please.
EFF, thank you. I support you, EFF. For sure. Tuko gangari kabisa hapo.
Thank you, Wambui, and thank you, host, for this opportunity. First and foremost, I want to celebrate the presser that has been given by the Catholic Metropolitan region to confirm their stand yesterday. I think most of us have seen it. I hope everyone have seen it. I've just read it now. It's very revolutionary. It's very upfront. And before the previous day, they issued a press conference. Today, the SEK has also supported the stand taken by Catholic, and they are really coming up front. They are not taking no prisoners. They don't want to contain the lies that Ruto has been going on. Wana wamesema hiyo pesa ilidonetiwa, there were 3 chunks of money. Nairobi governor donated 200,000. So that money will be returned. Ruto donated 600,000, and there was another individual who donated around 400,000. Plus na deposit akamesema atatoa 5 million, ashatoa 3 million. All those monies will be sent back to the donor immediately. So this is the gold standard that we need our churches to have. These are the things we need to celebrate and encourage, because our church has been the conduit of money laundering. Our church has been used as laundry for a very long time for people who have no morals, people who have no shame. They come with stolen money and they parade it in church. And inaende na ufurisha kichwa sifu wamefanya kitu ya maana sana. No more of that nonsense. If there's any church going forward that itaenda kupokea hizi pesa za politician, they need to be shamed, because the golden standard imetolewa. Catholic Church, ACK, and the rest, and the bigger churches. That nonsense is not going to be there. That nonsense is not going to be there in the mosque. So this is the golden standard. Ruto ashafichiwa place pa kufanya PR church, pa kudonate. Hadi ile pesa ya kwaya, ile 200,000 alidonate, hiyo inarudishwa yote. So churches, no donation. Ya pili ni hizo kulunch project fake tumemfungia. Morara alishafunga. So hapa hivyo hakuna kulunch project. Enda kulunch project yote toka tunajua ni uongo, hata kama inaka ukweli. That one is done, finito. There is no any other place. Ruto amebaki na wapi? Akienda online, akikuja online kwa spaces zetu tutamkaranga. This is now a baraza. Labda atabaki na mainstream media apige propaganda. Sisi hatunangi TV. Baki na space gani? We need to make sure that this nigger, jamaa, who must go, does not get any space any social space to communicate to us because we don't want him. There is no any other language to kuambia what we don't want this person. We don't want him and we want him gone. We want to rebuild our country. We want to decide our destiny. That is what's up. Mambo ya sijui kutafuta nani atatulead. My friend, we have 1,000 people who will lead us. But Ruto will not. Of course, he will not be the one leading us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. I agree. Muted Master, wasemaje?
Kama muted amemute pea Duna.
Duna, are you there? Jackson P, are you there?
Okay. Thank you, Wamboi and the team. First, I want to confirm kama umepata pesa yangu. I want to confirm kwanza kama umepata my money.
Ame sponsor your platform tangu asubuhi guys. Wacha niondoe number. Thank you very much.
Nimetuma kwa namba ya Wamboi hapo. Hiyo imewekwa kwa chat.
Thank you. Received.
Nifika. Okay. Thank you. So, I think this is my first time to be in this platform. And this is something good. Naweza kuwa na challenges kidogo hapa na pale on the debate. But it's a good start. My only fear when we lose the objectivity. Na could dwell on so much on subjectives because really imekuwa shida our politics in Kenya. I'm not in Kenya right now. I left Kenya a few years ago. I'm in US. And before I left, or many years back, I was so much involved in activism. For those who know Youth Agenda, during that time, was so much in it. And one of the things we learned, we hardly change our politics. And hapo ndio the system inatupiga vita, inatuangusha. We hardly change our politics. We love holding on things we are used to, including the people. And that's why even this platform, so many of us are talking about Ruto, Matiang'I, Uhuru. Those names should not appear. They're not gods. They're not, they are the people who are responsible for what Kenya is. Kenya, we are so rich. We are so resourceful. And Kenyan has what it takes to be like just United States of America. Ile imetuharibia ama ile inaturudisha nyuma ni ujinga wetu wa kwamba hatutaki kubadilika. Na ubinafsi. Na ubinafsi unambea mbegu katika msingi wa kitu kinaitwa ukabila. Years back, I tried to help some few constituencies. I tried to vie when I was so much involved in civil society at the grassroots level. And one thing I came to learn, wherever I go, consciously, through engagement, I learned that tribalism takes, big toll in defining who is who in Kenya. Now, again, this is where the politicians know and they take capitalizing on that. Now, where we are today with Inject, because ningetaka sana to focus about Inject Party. If I'm not wrong, I think this is a platform for Inject Party. And I think my encouragement is for you to do some. I think my encouragement is for you to do some. A vicious circle of failures and things like that, so that you avoid that. One of them is engaging the community. I've happened to check what the party leader is doing, and he's doing good work. However, katika politics, I think you have much to do, particularly when it comes to engaging with the masses. It's not just a matter of appearing in YouTube, TikTok, and Newsline. I think you need to engage. People need to own the party. People need to own the party. you should seriously start thinking about how do you make people own the party so that it is not like a Morara party, because that is what has happened to other parties. ODM is Raila's party, UDA is Ruto party, now we have Injectors Morara's party. If you are serious to bring reform transformation in Kenya, we should change how we do politics, from individualism, from kingship to inclusivity, diversity, having people own the political process na si mtu anaonekana. So irrespective of wherever somebody is doing good job or what, the danger what I've seen in Kenya, wherever we have somebody tunampatia highlight, tunampatia platform, then eventually that person anakuwa target ya state capture, anapotea, and then we are back again, to drawing see what good things have done before and what have been the failures in the political party system. But most importantly, engage with the community. Make the Inject Party visible in all the constituencies. If you can pick a phone in Kinango constituency in Kwale County, there's Inject Party. If you can pick your phone in Kakamega, somebody in Viga Party, you have a contact person and visible presence of the Inject Party. If you can pick your phone again in Kisumu, in Mandera, there's presence. But if we're only going to focus on people who will be excited and enjoy the movement, it has happened before. It has happened before, and then it doesn't reflect in the vote. So this could be the most ideal opportunity for Inject Party to show something different. I expect within 6 months, whoever is here and is a leader of Inject Party have called for a national, call it deal, come to, an annual conference. Resolution have done so far, confirm those leaders that you have elected or appointed so far, and then share out your agenda, vision for a new Kenya. That will divert away from the ordinary we have in Kenya. And I think it's going to give a new base na kufungua watu macho na kuona kwamba failure to that, itakuwa another gathering ya Jivanji, is it Jivanji where you see young people every time they wake up in the morning wanashinda kuongea kuhusu Raila from asubuhi mpaka jioni. The following day wanaenda hapo wanaongea kuhusu Ruto from asubuhi mpaka jioni and thinking that we are going to have change. No, these people call themselves Kingsmen or Kingspain. They laugh and they enjoy because they allow that to happen, so that at the right time when comes, everybody will be scattered. And because they have the system, they have the resources, which is they don't belong to them, resources that they have stolen from the public, they use that to remain in power. And I think that's what even during my time when we were young people, that's what he did. And that's why he stayed in power for many years, because he manipulated the system. So we have the same product. We don't have a reform right now. We don't, be it Raila, be it whoever. They're all selfish. I'm sorry to say that they are selfish. So Inject could be that new kid on the block, could be that platform that can give us new breath. But however, you need to sit down na kuangalia what is it that you can do differently from others, and then to be seen that you are serious to bring transformation and reforms by having everybody on board. And this can only happen when also you allow yourself to be challenged. Probably people will come out. If I have time, if I see that maybe I can take a shot 2017, maybe I say, okay, let me go back to Kenya. Let me go for the president through Inject Party. Will you accept me? Will you give me that platform? Will you give anybody? Will you give Wamboi the platform? Will you give Jackson the platform? Or is it just a matter of, another party, just like another party where we are idol-shipping individuals? So irrespective of the goodwill and the good work so far, which is good, let's think progressively. How do we make Inject Party the party that matters, the party that is serious to bring reforms and transformation that has never taken place before? And finally, the fear of IBC, the fear of, whether we'll be involved in whatever decision. Let me tell you from the experience I've learned, if you are going to convince or show that we have the mammoth behind us, the system fears numbers. And that's why when the church speaks, the system, the state thinks twice, because they know the church has numbers. So if Inject You can prove that we have numbers, wameona tumeenda Kasarani, you have over 10,000, 20,000 delegates from the country, wamekuja vizuri, wameongea agenda, you have spoken agendas that have never been spoken before. They have been endorsed by over 10,000 delegates. The presidential candidate amekuwa confirmed, for instance, or the chairman of the leader of the party. They have laid out their agenda. You are going back. I can tell you they will never do anything without calling for the input of the Inject Party, including the election of the IBC. But as it stands now, they know Morara anaongea kwa online sawa, is popular online sawa, but where are the people? Don't say the young people. No, the young people nawajua. The young people ndio wanashinda huko Kamukunji na Jivanji kuongea kuhusu Ruto mpaka asubuhi jioni. Those are not wazes. Those are the voice they Inject. But what are they doing? They don't speak about Inject. They speak about ODM. They speak about mtu wetu, kabila yetu, and things like that. So we have a long way to go. And that's why the Inject Party should not take things for granted. No. You should wake up, take this advantage, take this time, reorganize, engage, and be serious. Na mpunguze walevi kwa ofisi. Asante sana.
Asante sana. Yeah. Good question. I thought submission. Yes, I agree, and I've loved the submission. Jackson, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
yes. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Before Jackson, I wanted to comment something before, not to water down what Dunami has said. We are working so hard behind the scenes. You'll be seeing us on your screens very soon as the work media. Tumesema ya kwamba we are overchanging and overhauling everything. So that really also is big. The biggest change needed is really on the media. So we want to be the media that will be speaking for Kenyans, sober-minded Kenyans who want a change, and you'll also very much be highlighting on Inject Party. And we are hoping that the leader and trusting that the leadership of Inject are going to be very much aligned. We are still watching, learning, and doing our best. So soon we'll be on your screens live, doing things on the ground. Anyway, back to Jackson.
Okay. I have been seated here silently listening, and I've had a lot of people speaking a lot of sense. But I would love to say that Morara is really doing a good job. But as Inject movement, there is something that we are really forgetting. We've really concentrated more on the past, on corrupt issues that were done in the past, but we are forgetting things like the Bill Foundation, where they've been given immunity. We would love that Morara should step up on this one and refuse these vaccines that are supposed to be given to our cows, because all of a sudden I think gets thought that our cows fat a lot, and they are just polluting the environment, right? So this is one way of us capturing the mashinani, because most of our people in mashinani, they mostly do farming. And if we would really inject on the GMO seeds mashinani and about these cows, I think Morara will start getting mileage. And I think for now, and fight one thing at a time. We are really fighting a lot of things at the same time, right? So if right now the Gates Foundation is really trying to push this agenda and we do not like it, I think we should first stand firm on that one and make sure we fight it tooth and nail until they stop it first. Because we really have a lot of points, but we have not really solved any of them. So our party is not really being seen as much as it's supposed to be seen. We really need to step on one nail and nail it to the ground. Then we move to the next one. The way we've talked about the churches right now, and then we've seen change. So what we need to do next, we need to fight this thing, the GMO and the vaccines. Since food is live without food. this is a system where we want to be to if we get to that place that as long as they are there, as long as they are there and they do not give us these seeds, we will still die. We should first deal with this one. If there is another one, we will deal with it later. Let's deal with one thing at a time. If that will work, then it will be perfect. But I'm not sure if I've spoken sense, but if there is anything else or any correction, I wouldn't mind to be corrected.
The muted.
Yes. Okay. I thank everyone who've been on this platform. I've gotten the concepts plus different policies that have been articulated here, and I'm very much happy. I would just want to air some issues politely, then I just turn off my mic. Kenyans, we do behave like dogs on heat, and we do forget very fast, thinking that we are moving on a very good direction and we are taking a wrong direction. These are my opinions, though. If you did not assist me by the time I was searching for food, then I bring my food on the table. You come start celebrating with me that this is the right food that I need. Yet when I was searching for food, you are on another direction. That is how Kenyans behave. Today we are praising the churches who have been very corrupt, and I cannot believe a friend who has poisoned me in the past, now changing and coming with the Bible that I'm a preacher, and he poisoned me yesterday. My friend, it is like eating with the devil in the dark. I will use a fork spoon. I will not come near you. I will eat, yes, but use a fork spoon. Using a fork spoon. We do this, and these are even the politics of 2027 are going to be like this. We shall be brainwashed with some leaders that they have changed, and this is how we are going to praise them after all. These are the people who, even after seeing things, and seeing that taxes are high, they still went and prayed somewhere in the garden. They said, this government is from God. Just recently here, we've forgotten today because now they didn't bank what Ruto and the other politicians gave them. Now we say they are good people. Only one thing we can call them for change. Let us be realistic.
Maybe you can mention these churches by names. Which churches have been receiving money from Ruto or have been corrupt before?
ACK have been receiving money. That is number one. Catholics have been receiving money. Almost these big churches in Kenya have been receiving money. That is the fact. Through Harambe and everything. Now, because yesterday they rejected it, now we are praising them. They have done good. Only one. No. With me, I can't.
Because with me, I have a different opinion on that. I think let's be honest. Corruption is corruption. It must be condemned, at all costs. But now, when it comes to organizational system, I think there is need for people to honestly engage on a honest dialogue and discussion, because if fundraising, churches are charities. Charities, including Red Cross, receive money from people. I remember recently, I'm fully aware, Uhuru Kenyatta donated over 2 million to Red Cross. You see, nobody said. So let's differentiate, because sometimes we tend to mix things here and emotions. Simply because we don't like a church, then you condemn fundraising. I think fundraising is okay for church to fundraise, but how and how we do condemn corruption is different things altogether and must be enforced. So my point is, and that has been my argument, because I've seen people talking about the church will not receive funding. No, the church is there to receive funding, because church does a lot of things behind the scenes that the media doesn't show. They support a lot of orphans, a lot of run schemes that help the poor. I remember I myself used to work with the church before I left Kenya, and I used to support over 100 children with school fees and these funds coming from well-wishers, you see. So we acknowledge there's corruption, but corruption should not be used to cut, the good job that is done by good churches. I think what we need to do is to jail people who are doing corruption and also promote and applaud good people who are doing good people for the community, because you can't just kill the baby with a blanket. And I think this is something that people need to speak honestly, because I've seen some of these articles and I get disturbed. Like, you can't just say church is corrupt because of one church that has maybe involved itself with corruption. You see, you can't just say, for instance, we have been working with these political parties, we have been celebrating them, we have been voting them. Are you aware that every year ODM, UDA, and this political party receive over 500 million over from the political party fund? Nobody asks about where these funds goes. And we celebrate what we've done with these people. Churches receive money from charity. They raise funds. They call for appeals. You see, if you come and like what they did yesterday, and I like it because the money was rejected. Why? Because there's a public outcry that the source of this fund are proceeds of corruption. And I think that should be the way. Let people support the churches, because that's what the church is here to do. If you're not a Christian, but the church, that's the main business of the church, working for the communities. They don't tax people. They receive money through charities, through well-wishers. But if the source of that fund is questionable, the church will reject that fund. But if I'm a honest person, I want to support the church, I think nobody should stop me from fundraising for the church. Because it's my right, and the church it's an obligation to receive my funding. However, as I say and I repeat, if the source of the funds is, in public domain, that those are sources of corrupt, then the church will stop, just like the way they did yesterday. And I think because of that, we should applaud what they did yesterday, and we should also applaud those churches which are going to continue rejecting sources of funds from corrupt means, but at the same time, applaud churches that are doing good work. In Kijabe, there's a hostel and a center for children.
Can I continue? Can I continue or?
Yeah, just continue, please. Or just trying to add some example, but continue. I just want to clarify because
okay. Just add the examples, then I'll continue. Just add the finalize, then I'll continue after you finalized. Okay. You've talked of donations from other organizations. I'm not talking of those ones. These are churches, the National Churches Council of Kenya. You are aware, if you are a Kenyan, even if you are living abroad, you are aware of this body called the NCCK, who used to come together, and now they are coming out because it is due to the public who have come out to condemn them. Now they are coming out to be in line with the public. And that one, I don't go with the euphoria. I go with my own mind, and I say, mimi nasema tu kweli kulingana na what I think and what I want should be done in my country as a citizen and as a patriot. Not buying the group mentality that this is what we want, but what I want personally as a citizen of this country. That is what I'll go after. And you cannot convince me. You've done one thing that you've done right. The 9. Even if you are a church sitting next to the throne of God, I'll tell you this is wrong. Second thing, we are in this party whereby in our mouth it is a party, but on the ground it is not a party. We call it inject. We are injecting, yes, but is it a party? Is it a party? It is not, and I like what the Dunamis said. He said one thing, that tupunguze wale ambao walevi kwa board. That statement is very pregnant, very critical statement, because these things, it is only on media. Only a few individuals are working on the ground pertaining to what should be done. Nothing is going at all. Nothing is going on. And if you can calculate the number of days that are remaining, we are in 2024. And just in case elections come forth in the year 2027, yes, embrace justice. Yes, it is not a party. Tell me where inject is registered as a party. Tell me. challenge me on this platform where it is registered as a party constitutionally. It is not. It is just by word of mouth that we are spreading party. But nothing is going on. Nothing is going on. And if it's going on, we shall know. That is it. Then in the year 2027, elections, if elections can be held, do we have even our members in the grassroots level? At national level, do we have them? What about at the constituency level? Do we have them? We don't have. So at the end of the day, we'll be losers. Those who are, we call them we catalyst. We speed up the rate of reaction, but we remain unchanged. If surely we want change in this country, then we need many Moraras, not one. Not one. Because one person can be changed by the government and we shall just become victims of circumstances. But if there are many Moraras on the ground, whereby if I'm Morara on my own, you are Morara on your own because you want change, then we shall make a great country. Let us not fool ourselves that we have not been aware of the corruption that has been taking place with all these governments that have been in place. During the Kibaki era, we knew of the Goldenberg and the Anglo-Leasing. All those people, the hatchet was buried and we forgotten. It came down the line, even up to these years. The last years, the last regime, we saw the issues of the Kimwarer Dam and everyone has been aware of the corruption taking place in this country. It is only that we've been neglecting these things to a point that now we've become victims of circumstances by suffering. That is now when we know, oh, these things are bad, these things now bad. When Meg, last time I heard a section of citizens saying that Meg should be recalled. A section of citizens also said she must not be recalled, she's doing a good job. Until now, we became victims of circumstances. We've come to realize that this lady needed to be called back. So as a country, as a patriot, as people who need change in this country, it begins with you specifically, individually, not Morara. It begins with you. And any task that I would like to be carried out, I should carry it out as an individual, knowing that I'm a patriot in this country. I need change in my country, and I need my country to be free from neo-colonialism, and we can do it. Who said that we can only depend on the West for survival? We are poor as a country because we are not making good use of our local available resources. Kenya, we are endowed with different resources geographically. It is only that our mindset, even if we talk of youthful leaders, even in government now, the government is full of youthful leaders. But what are they thinking of? They are not injecting in this government because finally, whatever they wanted, their pockets are full. And if we are really, really hungry for freedom, we are dying for freedom in this country, then we need to strategize. We need to have policies. We need to be aware of things that are affecting the public, things that are affecting the citizens, minus looking towards the right or left, or who is supporting me or who is not supporting me. Once you are doing a right thing, you are in a position to convince. Even Jackson, you are in a position to convince EFF, a position to convince TikTok, even Gax. If you are doing a right thing, I think as someone who is in this country and is of sober mind, will be in a position to buy the idea, minus even bargaining. This country is ailing. Our children cannot go to school. They are back at home. Talk of more university. Who sang some narrative songs last time? And these people, there are some students who've been learning in that school for almost 9 years. And that is the country we have. A country whereby we camouflage. It is high time that the leaders who are camouflaging, all of them, they are going back home, and they won't go back home if we are just lipsticking these words. We are just lipsticking what is coming out of our mouths. It is just by actualizing everything and making them into a reality that will make us finally realize our goals as a country, that finally we need change. We've been clearing the bush, yes, but snakes have just remained to be snakes. This time around, we don't need to clear the bush. We need to burn the bush plus the snakes inside, so that when this bush shall be growing again, we'll have to see which animal is inside it and of which color. That is all that I can say. Thank you.
What I can say is like using the phrase we just use as you conclude. Let's create a clean environment. When you create a clean environment, you shall not have snakes. Clean environment means respect for the rule of law, institutional reforms. Let's strive to make sure that injustice somewhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And because of that, we don't allow any form of injustice to happen, even if people who are affected by those injustices, they don't look like us.
Yes, good evening, Dawak Media, Jackson, TikTok, Dunami, CFF, na the muted. So, it's very good to have different speakers every day because people have different minds. And as like Dawak likes to call it, ni sauti ya Wakenya. Now, I feel like kanisa ni kufikiwa ilifikiwa because most of these churches have a lot of schools, and most of these churches have a lot of hospitals, right? So immediately there were problems with the education system, and immediately there were problems with the health sector. It was the churches who are supposed to come out first. But look, they are coming out when maji shamwagika. The education sector is gone, the health sector is gone. Na ni kufikiwa wamefikiwa. Why? Because like the Catholic Church has a lot of hospitals. Now they have been affected by the SHA thing. Na yeye Ruto ni mjinga, anadanganya watu kuhusu SHA, and it's the same people who are using SHA. You see, it doesn't make sense. Well, how can you lie to people, the same people who are using the same services you are lying about? And if you can remember, immediately after the Gen Z protests, there are some pastors who went to see Ruto. I believe they came from the NCCK and they were calling for all these. Now, the mood you can read in the country is that it's like the other churches were waiting for Catholic to speak, or it was like who will go first. You see, it had started with these independent preachers, and it has come to Catholic made a statement, ACK or Lesapit has made a statement. And then, now even the other people in the country, including the politicians, now understand that Ruto is naked. And that is what I've been telling you guys. As much as Ruto is pretending to be very firm, he's very naked. And this is the time he's very predisposed. Remember, he has been called out on the abductions, so he will have fear of abducting people and everything. He doesn't have a platform. Now, there's something that Morara has been doing. Morara ameamsha the political temperature in the country. Unaona? Sasa kuna kitu yenye wamekuwa kizuia Morara kufanya. During this civic education hawako anataka apate crowds. And we had seen alikuwa ameanza kupata crowds. If I could be an advisor Morara, mimi ningemwambia hivi. His biggest support base ni university students. aanze kutoa like anakuwa amewajulisha. Like for example, the day alikuwa Narok, alikuwa land Masai Mara University, lakini hakufika. The biggest support base ya Morara, and we've seen from the previous history, university students come hand in hand with revolutions. So Morara should tour these places one by one na anakuwa naongea na university leaders. Starting from coast, akuja hivyo kama aenda hadi Bungoma. In the meantime, Morara ameamsha the political temperature in the country. And now, you see what ameamsha the political temperature, but watu wenye wameamka ni watu wako na pesa and he does not have the money. Naona? So what happens and what next? We need, Morara should make statements. Unajua sasa historia inject tuliambiwa a week. We need a statement from Morara atuambie mambo inject party imefika wapi. Naona? Because personally I feel like kidogo we've been overtaken. Look at what happened over the weekend. Sijui ODM walikuwa kitengela mahali Kasmuel alikataliwa. You see? Mara kulikuwa na rally sijui wapi. So I believe we have a lot to do as inject party. But either way, mi sitaki kujua. Hata kama Morara atakuwa na, hata apate tu members of parliament kama 100 tu, mi naweza furahi sana. Anyway guys, let's keep on supporting Morara. Tuone mahali tunaweza mfikisha with our support. Yeah, that is what I can say for now. And thank you Dog for the platform. Nilikuambia consistency ndo itadetermine nani atasurvive kwa hii TikTok. Yeah, you can take over the mic.
TikTok psychiatrist, how are you?
Yes, I'm fine, my brother. So I've been listening. Thank you for the platform and opportunity. Bado sijalala. Anyway, for me, ni machache. Now I'll start by making a declaration or an observation based on my experience in Kenyan politics. So I believe Ruto is the best gift God has given us, and at the same time, the best gift, the best blessing. Why? Because he has created an awakening because of his governance style, where now people will never take for granted the cost of choosing or the cost of not taking part into electoral processes. He has created an awareness that the culture that we had before of people not even getting concerned with whatever happens in the political realms or setting doesn't concern them. Sasa kila mtu ana feel the pain. Now politics has been owned by the majority of the population. And by doing so, he has created a new culture of people demanding for their rights. It's not business as usual. And this will also shape whoever takes power next. Because he'll know I'm dealing with people who are politically conscious, people who are politically sensitive on their rights, on their freedoms, and on their needs. I thank Zakayo for that. Now people are speaking the same language. I have seen the diminishment of ethnic politics. It's diminishing with time because people have gone through fire. They have now known when it comes to suffering, we all suffer. And that is the best thing. If we weather the storm, we are going to have the best country ever because people's power and accountability will have nurtured. It will not be about sijui umetoka wapi or you have been doing what. It will be about now moving forward and the greater good. That's all I have. Thanks.
Good. Papa. Papa.
Dogo tu.
Okay. Good. Guys. Nikiangalia time tulikuwa tumebakisha 10 minutes but we can stop at that. Tupatane kesho saa moja. Kesho I don't know ama nitakuwa I think I'll be there wanawa kesho asubuhi. Thank you for coming and Mr. Duma, thank you for support sisi na data. We received 1,200. Thank you very much. Thank you. Be blessed. Bye bye guys.